Hello there, good morning and welcome to this, the WP Builds weekly WordPress newsletter. This newsletter covers the WordPress news for the week commencing the 7th of October 2019, and we published it on Monday the 14th of October 2019. A few things before we get stuck right into the news. If you wouldn't mind going over to the wpbuilds.com website, if you find the subscribe link at the top, that's wpbuilds.com/subscribe, you can get in touch with all the things that we do on WP Builds. A couple of newsletters to join in. I would recommend joining our WP Builds Deals Update newsletter. The reason for that is we've got Black Friday around the corner, and obviously a whole host of products will come out. And if you join onto that newsletter, we're going to send you a very short, plain text email alerting you as soon as we find out about them. You'll be able to look at the title and decide for yourself very quickly whether it's worth opening or not. On that page, you can also join us on your favourite podcast player, things like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify and so on. There's links to get you subscribed there. And also you can join our Facebook group of over 2,200 WordPressers, all saying very nice things about WordPress and helping each other out. There's various other platforms on there as well. The other links I want to mention are wpbuilds.com/deals. It's a bit like Black Friday, but every single day of the week. If you're buying something, go check that page out before you click the purchase button, because we might possibly have a coupon code for you. The other one to mention is wpbuilds.com/advertise if you would like to advertise on the WP Builds podcast. I would like to say that every Monday we do a live version of the news. Join us at wpbuilds.com/live and you'll be able to, check out what we're doing this week. Hopefully we'll have Matt Medeiros, Paul Lacey and Vito Peleg. Let's see if all of them manage to make it or not, but that's who we've got lined up. So that's Monday, every Monday at 2 p.m. UK time. We've also got a competition on at the moment, which I've forgotten to mention on several occasions. If you go to wpbuilds.com/win, we're giving away some Raffle Press licenses. Those Raffle Press licenses can be used by using the Raffle Press widget. You'll be able to see it on that page. Raffle Press is a way of kind of creating viral giveaways, and you can use it to try and win it, which is very peculiar. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by Kinsta. Are you tired of unreliable or slow hosting? If so, check out Kinsta, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, all their plans include PHP 7, SSH and 24/7 expert support. And you can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we really do thank Kinsta for helping us put on the WordPress weekly news. Okay, let's get stuck into that news, shall we? We always chunk our news into different sections, and the first one is always WordPress Core. And over on WordPress.org, we have an article entitled WordPress 5.3 Beta 3. Just under a month now until we get our hands on 5.3 without the beta label. And I'll read out the highlights. Well, apparently we have fixes and enhancements in the admin interface, the problems that were introduced in previous beta releases. There's some wording changed in the login screens. Accessibility in the media upload modal has been improved. Changes in the way the new error handling with images works. And MediaElement.js has been updated to the latest version. The script is now able to load in the footer again. This fixes a regression that happened 2 years ago, so it might be worth noting. And there's also an update to the REST API. So it's minor stuff, but nevertheless, if you're a beta tester, you should probably go and check that out. They've closed over 60 tickets since the last beta release. The next piece is over on WP Tavern. It's entitled WordPress 5.3 Improves Large Image Handling. Just heard a little bit about that. Sarah Gooding tells us that, she gives us some more details about this. In the future, because nowadays we are creating images in such large quantities, and the fact that those images just produced from a smartphone can be enormous, there's now going to be a new function. It's called big_image_size_threshold, and it's going to enable developers to create like a ceiling, if you like, for the maximum width and maximum height of an image. It's going to default to 2560 pixels, so that's going to be available. The original image will still be saved on your website, so it's not trying to save you space on your hard disk. And you'll also be able to get to that original image with a new function, which has you can see that on the website. I won't go into that. Nevertheless, it's not trying to do the job of plugins like Insanity, Smush, and so on and so forth, because because it's not trying to kind of do bulk image updates. It's just trying to do them as and when they come in. So I suppose for new WordPress websites, this might be quite useful. But if you're using things like Smosh, it's not really going to be interfering with those because you can't do a whole load at once. Staying on WP Tavern, I'm not quite sure this belongs in the WordPress Core section, but nevertheless, WordPress.org bumps PHP maximum for plugin directory to version 7.2. And it says the WordPress.org SVN system received a version bump to 7.2 on October the 3rd. This change means that plugin authors can now use newer PHP syntax in the plugins they submitted to the official repository, and hopefully in the future the versions will match what's on WordPress.org. The article goes on to say that this should be great news for plugin developers who are using newer PHP syntax, because previously authors were able to submit code using newer PHP functions, but only if they had a compatibility check file in the same file. However, newer syntax wasn't allowed. Mika Epstein apparently has been looking to get this changed for a very, very long time. So yeah, if you're a plugin or theme author, this might be important to you. Go check it out on WP Tavern. The next section that we always do is WordPress Community, and the first piece today is WP Tavern again. MachoThemes, modular parent company, acquires 3 gallery plugins. I confess I've not heard of any of these, but nevertheless, MachoThemes, which is behind the modular gallery plugin, has acquired 3 gallery plugins. They are the Final Tiles Gallery Grid Light, Photo Blocks Grid Gallery, and they've also acquired a 3rd plugin called Ever Lightbox. The amount of money disclosed has not been revealed, but it's said to be somewhere in the region of 5 figures. The idea is the first 2 that I just mentioned are going to be rolled into their existing products, and the Evergreen Lightbox will remain as a standalone project. They're working at the moment on having a script which can migrate you from the old version to the new version when it's all rolled into this one product. And if you've ever come across these and are using these, you will need to be mindful of that, because in the future they won't be updating the older versions. It'll all just be, as I said, rolled into their new product. So maybe worth checking out. Some 34,000 users apparently will be affected by this change. So if any of those names ring a bell, maybe this is an article that you need to read. I couldn't really decide whether this belonged in the community section either, but anyway, here it is. WP Tavern again. US Supreme Court denies Domino's appeal to determine whether websites must be accessible. So this is all to do with United States law, but presumably at some point these kind of things will become international concerns and points of international law. But in the United States, apparently a chap called Guillermo Robles, who is blind, went to the Domino's website and app to try to order himself a pizza, Domino's being a pizza chain, but he was unable to do so, and he thought that this warranted some legal action. And so now we have the culmination of that, and essentially he has been found in the right, and that means that in the future, presumably, legislation will be passed making it enforceable that all websites must be accessible. He was unable to place an order because he couldn't figure out how to navigate the menus and so on and so forth. And so I suppose we all need to be mindful of this, probably in the days, weeks, months, and probably years to come. This will become much more legislated for, and we will all have to be producing websites which are completely accessible. The next section is entitled Plugins and Themes. And the first piece of news we've got for you is over on the Brizy website. Brizy being a popular page builder, they have released Brizy Design Kit 2.0, and it's a collection of 500 plus blocks, which is a staggeringly large amount. And they look really nice. They've been categorized on the website, but before I get to that, I should say that you have light and dark versions of all of them, and you can simply toggle light or dark and you'll get the version that you want, but they are identical apart from their lightness and darkness. They are blocked into different sections: heroes, features, contact, gallery, call to action, text, team, pricing, and testimonials. And if you go to the link in the website, you will see them for yourselves, and they're really nice. And considering such a very large amount have been given away in this one hit, I think it's commendable, and will no doubt assist Brizy's sales into the future. So yeah, definitely go and check them out. I do think they are remarkably nice. If you're a user of Brainstorm Force's Ultimate add-ons, that could be the Beaver Builder or the Elementor variety, you're in for a treat because this week they've released a user registration form builder. It's available, like I say, for both platforms, Beaver Builder and Elementor. You can get the links in the show notes if you like, or in the email that I send out with this. And they simply are wonderful little drag and drop form builder to make user registration forms a little bit nicer. If you've ever used their Convert Pro plugin, it feels like it's a lot like that. You can drag form fields onto the canvas and move them around and resize them and what have you. You can add things like capture and honeypot fields and so on and so forth. But yeah, if you've got those, then certainly worth a look. Staying with Brainstorm Force, they've actually updated their Astra theme. They've now got Astra 2.1, and on their website they say Astra 2.1 is out with cleaner HTML and faster loading time. And what they mean by that is instead of including things as inline CSS, which they had up to Astra 2.0, they're now going to be creating an additional file. So hopefully it will look a little bit less clumsy. If you were to inspect things, there would be less weight in the HTML that you were looking at. I don't know if that's loaded on a case-by-case basis, so I'm presuming that it's loaded across the whole site. I don't know if there's any way to enable this so that it just loads on a particular page or what have you. But anyway, there's a new item in the Astra options, and when you enable it, this will happen. And they claim that it will speed up their already very fast theme by 8.47%, which is a very, very accurate number indeed. It seems like I've never mentioned Visual Composer. If I'd started this WordPress news 8 years ago, I suppose I would have been talking about it an awful lot. But since then, we've got a whole variety of different page builders that have come along and seem to have taken its crown away. However, they're in the news this week because they have a brand new version which is actually freely available on the WordPress.org repo. They say brand new Visual Composer made entirely from scratch. No more shortcodes, content locking or performance compromises. Get the best website builder for your website. And there's a little video which sort of fails to show you how they actually compose the pages with the builder. So I'm not entirely sure how that works, but they describe it as a true drag and drop website builder. So maybe somebody who's got experience of this can chime in, but I'm guessing that people will have their opinions on this. It seems almost like their time has passed. Perhaps I'm wrong. The next section is entitled Deals from this week. I've got 3 for you, and they're all on AppSumo, and they're all from the WeDevs studio of plugins. Strange that the same company should have 3 deals on at exactly the same time. However, they are for WP Project Manager Pro, weForms, which is something a little bit, I suppose, like Gravity Forms, and WP User Frontend Pro, which is a way of kind of customizing the way your WordPress admin seems to operate. Anyway, all 3 of those are available by clicking the links in the show notes. The next section is about security. We do a bit of a light touch because I think the problems are a little bit too difficult to explain in a little bulletin like this. But the first one is all about the fact that WebArcs, the WordPress firewall solution, are now offering backups with their plan. Well, actually, they've been offering this for a little while, but they've released a tutorial this week on how it happens. Basically, they use Google Drive. You have to go into the actual plugin itself on the site. You can't at the moment go into your dashboard, your centralized dashboard for WebArcs, where all of your site's information is kept. You have to go to each individual site and connect your Google Drive, and then what it does is it simply exports on a daily, weekly, whatever basis that you set up, a file into a directory called WebArcs Backups in your Google Drive, and then you just get a zip of all the files and a MySQL dump, which is just really simple then to restore should you need it, and you get a text file as well showing everything that should have been backed up. So I really like that. Over on Wired magazine this week, were they talking about a new DDoS attack? Apparently it's getting a lot of bang for a hacker's buck. It's kind of a reflection attack, which means that they can magnify an enormous amount of DDoS, if you like, from very small amounts of packets that they send across the internet. So hooray, more problems for us to deal with in the future. And iThemes security vulnerability has been patched. Now, this is in iThemes Sync's product. So it says, during a recent routine internal code audit, we discovered a security vulnerability in iThemes Sync. The vulnerability could allow a significant breach to your WordPress site. So we're asking people to update. So if you are using iThemes Sync, please go and update it ASAP. The astonishingly brazen WP Build self-promotional bit now. We released a podcast episode, number 149 this week, entitled Marketing Funnels Don't Exist. It sort of seems to have done its job. It was a deliberately clickbaity title. Of course, they exist. It's actually just to say that they don't exist perhaps in the form that we think, because a funnel siphons water from the top and 100% of it reaches the bottom, whereas perhaps these funnels ought to be described more like colanders that spring leaks all over the place, because it's hardly true to say that anybody that you put in the top of your marketing funnel arrives safely at the bottom. That's just not the way it works. So anyway, go and check that out. It's David and I starting on a course of maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 podcasts in a series. So that's nice. Not sure if this belongs in this section, but I'm going to say it anyway, because one of the community members of the WP Builds Facebook group in this particular case is Chris Hughes, and Chris Hughes has put together a service called Mint WP, which offers WordPress Care 24/7 support. Night or day, he says, will keep your site safe, fast and online. And he's offering people a deal. He's going to offer them 25% off if they want to take him up on his services. And the code is WP Build. So thank you, Chris, and thanks for all of your contributions in the Facebook group. The next section is jobs. I'm going to keep banging away at this. Nobody as yet has given me any job to post. But if I just do this every day, I'm hoping that some sort of war of attrition will mean that eventually somebody will post a job, and then I'll be able to get this one underway. Right, that's all we've got in terms of WordPress. The last few are nothing to do with WordPress, but possibly useful anyway. There's a website called Accessibee, and I don't know how seriously I'm going to take this. Anyway, here it comes. They have an AI-powered web accessibility service, which they say is automatic, simple, and affordable. It starts at quite a large amount of money, I think. It's $490 annually. I have absolutely no idea if it works, but it has something which looks a little bit like the customizer, in that it floats on the side of your website and you go through it, and allegedly it will sort of guide you through some sort of wizard. You tick boxes, do move sliders and so on, and it makes your website accessible. We'll see how that works. Over on TechCrunch, Mars Curiosity rover finds evidence of an ancient oasis on Mars. I mean, I just love all this stuff. Apparently, there was an oasis at the base of a 150-kilometre wide crater, and the Curiosity probe has found evidence that this was once there. You can go and check that out on TechCrunch's website. And this is quite a political one. It's on the BBC's website. It's called Few Convinced by Apple's Case for Hong Kong App Removal. Apple had an app, and I can't remember the name. It was something like HK Map or something like that. And it was enabling the recent swathe of protests. It was enabling the protesters to actually work out where they should or shouldn't go. I presume it was crowdsourcing information and telling them where potentially police presence was, and then the protesters could avoid that. And Tim Cook and his team have removed this, saying that essentially it caused problems for them. Now, the backlash, of course, happened swiftly. People saying things like that they were putting their profits before human rights and dignity and so on. Go and read the article on the BBC and you can make your own mind up. WP Tavern have an article entitled Expression Engine under new ownership will remain open source for now. That's all I'm going to say about that one, really. You probably, if you've been in this game for any length of time, remember things like Expression Engine, which was a proprietary CMS and you had to pay an annual fee, I believe it was. Well, apparently they've open sourced it. My guess is in the wake of things like Facebook's dominance and WordPress's dominance, people are using it less and less. The next one is to say that Better Proposals has 17 new proposal templates. If you are sending out proposals, whether you're a WordPress or web developer in any way, shape or form, it's not just for that. It's got things like, security proposals, bathroom remodeling, construction work, and so on. And anyway, if you're using that service, they have updated their service to include 17 new templates. And last but by no means least, on the WP Tavern finally, Google Chrome announces rollout plan for blocking mixed content beginning January 20th. Essentially what this means is that in the very near future, if your site is loading resources from an HTTPS connection, that's fine. If it's loading resources from elsewhere on the internet that's coming over HTTPS, that will also be fine. But if you're loading images or style sheets, videos, and so on and so forth that are coming just over HTTP, then this is gradually going to be stopping working in Chrome from Chrome 79 onwards, and then I think making it mandatory in Chrome 80. Basically, they're just going to say, nope, we're not going to load that content because it's not enabled HTTPS. So there you go. At the minute, it displays a not secure warning, but it's just going to simply stop working. So I suppose this is just the way the internet's going, and I'm all for it. Right, thanks for listening to the WP Builds News this week. I hope that you got something out of it. The WP Builds News was brought to you today by Kinsta. Kinsta takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, your site is secured like Fort Knox and runs on speed-obsessive architecture. You get access to the latest software and developer tools such as PHP 7, SSH and staging environments. And the best part, their expert team of WordPress engineers are available 24/7 if you need help. And you can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. Okay, come back next week for next week's news. Perhaps see you on Thursday for the next podcast episode. It will be podcast episode number 150. And also, hopefully, we'll see some of you on Monday, 2 p.m. UK time, wpbuilds.com/live, where we will do our live news. Okay, bye-bye for now.